Soggy Science here. We're in number 17. Getting up there. Whoop. Good news on the lionfish front this week. Turns out in Jamaica, they're seeing a lot less of them because they've been culling them and using them for restaurants. Similar results we're seeing in other places like Roatan on the West End, where they've done a good job and they have an active lionfish industry there. Came in seeing some similar results. So some good news on that invasive species. More research shows that they are weary when culling goes on, so they hide better. Also some former research we mentioned before about them going deeper. So still a lot to be learned and a lot left to combat that invasive species. Oh, Flight 370. The story of the decade continues. Oil slick seen? Not from the plane. More evidence of debris and garbage? Not from the plane. Just goes to show you we have a very dirty ocean. Tune into 5 Gyres. That can tell you a lot more about the plastic waste and the garbage patches of all oceans, not just the Great Pacific one. They're doing great stuff too, but apparently the Malaysian government held back some information. There's a whole bunch of diving autonomous drones doing surveys now that the pings on the black box's batteries have worn out, and still finding nothing. This is going to be a long haul. Hopefully we'll have more answers soon. Anyway, onward and upward. Looks like that Asian air pollution has an impact on Pacific storm generation. Global ecosystem, huh? So it's definitely showing a trend that as air pollution increases in Asia, so do cloud seeding from the particulate matter and some other things like that. So researchers out of Texas A&M have been tracking this for looking at it from data from the last 150 years, and it does seem to have definitive anthropologic impacts, meaning man-made weather impact. Kind of already knew that, but it's nice to have confirmation and some data. So that's kind of cool. Big shout out to Keith Williams. Woohoo! Whoop! He's a friend of Soggy Science, educating over 300 students out in Maryland every week. And he has a blog on Blogspot called Creek Snorkeling. Check it out. All you educators out there, good on you. That's where it starts. On the ground with the kids in the water, and he's actually actively doing freshwater ecology and environmental science and biology and all kinds of good stuff educationally out there in Maryland. So we applaud you. Thank you, Keith, and thank you for your note. Oh, hammerhead tagging. Good friend of Soggy Science, Fred Buell and William Winram. We're in Bimini, which is in the Bahamas, at the Shark Lab, and they did some amazing, great hammerhead tagging research and activity out there. Good successful satellite tagging and some other things, acoustic tagging. So if you want to see more of that with some of his amazing freediving photographs, check out his website at necton.com. Way to go, guys. Can't wait to hear about the results. Western Australia. On and upward and again, off again, as we found out more recently. The eastern side of the country has been doing calls for a long time. Western Australia now wants to extend the call for 3 years. It was a temporary, I think 7-month initial phase, and it looks like they're moving to try to extend it to 3 years. Reunion Island and the other side of the Indian Ocean, they seem to be accepting and applauding their call program, which has begun as well. So there are better mitigation ways out there, guys. Extending it is not the answer. There have been shark attacks since the call has begun, and they're calling species that aren't responsible for the attack. Huge impact on tiger sharks in Western Australia. So let's follow some good science. Nobody wants this other than the government. It's become a political football. Let's get back to science, please. Thank you. Anyway, not so good news on the drowning front. Centers for Disease Control confirms that the number one death for infants and toddlers under 5 is still drowning. Predominantly male. Car accidents, obviously, are in there as well. But really surprising incident increase. Drowning overall is down, but it's up in the elderly. And of course they call it 45 to 85. But they don't really know why. They don't give an explanation why. It's up 10%. So those of you out there using the pool as exercise and being more water active, please do it safely. Now, this could be an increase of adventure sports. This could be an increase of the use of drugs and alcohol around pools. I don't know. It could be secondary to other health issues. So they're in the water and they call it drowning, but they had a heart attack or a stroke or something. So who knows? I look forward to more data on that. And just be aware, guys. Be careful out there, please. Really fun to be in the water. Awesome activity. But have a buddy and do it smartly. Don't want any drownings out there. Thank you. Anyway. Oh, South Korea. Ferry sinking. Another big boat going down. Estimates 300 plus people potentially. Colder water. Rescue efforts were semi-quick, but there may be a lot of people who got trapped inside, but the thoughts are that the water's so cold that rescue from people caught inside the wreck may not be very successful at this point. Prosecutors going after the captain, some discussion of them abandoning a ship early or abandoning people in the water. So much just coming out right now. Funny how this is so striking to the cruise ship in Italy. But big boat safety, be aware. Be aware of your exits, be aware of life jackets and where they're located anytime you're on a ship. They're very safe, but strange things happen. So be safe out there, guys, and hope we get some closure for the families. And I'd like not to be discussing shipwrecks anymore of that nature anyway. But captains, pay attention, please. Still don't know the real cause of this one yet, too. It's crazy. Let's stop that. More drownings, too. Kind of back to the other story. Anyway. Well, looks like researchers have found some interesting fossils of sharks. And they're not a living fossil, as some have believed. From markedly unchanged for 350 million years. Not true. Not true. Not true. I've never said that. You know, they have had the modern form for about 100 to 140 million years, but evolution has continued to work on sharks in many, many of their areas, but it may appear that they've branched off from bony fish and may have not come first. Maybe there's very limited fossils of sharks because they are cartilaginous, which means they don't fossilize readily other than their teeth, maybe scales, and their gill arches. They found some gill arches. So really interesting data, and being a shark guy, I can't wait to hear more about it. But food for thought. What do you guys think? When did sharks come on the scene? How much have they changed? Send your feedback. Pay attention to the news. And shark fins, as I mentioned in a previous Soggy Science, Dubai being a free port, they signed an agreement to protect sharks, but they are a free port. Looks like 5 tons of shark fins made their way to Hong Kong from Dubai. So the fight continues, and the transport of shark fins is still part of the system and still actively being pursued. So as we talked about last week, there is a downturn in imports and exports directly into China of shark fins. It's becoming less fashionable, which is awesome. But there's still an active market out there continuing. Anyway, on interesting science news, it looks like the red ab die-off of 2011 has been explained fortuitously. Researchers had gone after the genomics of the red abalone in the same area right before the die-off happened. And so they've been able to compare it with the DNA of the survivors. And Laura Rogers-Bennett, researcher up north in Northern California at Davis, working out of Monterey, has looked at it and pretty definitively looked at what she's calling forensic genomics, comparing the genetics of those that were alive before and the remainder that survived, and looking at where the vulnerabilities were, and it appears that an algal bloom and the toxins from that algal bloom were most likely the result of the die-off of the red abalone. So that's really interesting stuff. Anyway, good work, guys. Love to see it. Can't wait to hear more. Send your suggestions. Continue to reach out and comment, and subscribe, and follow us on social media. Get out in the water, get wet, and get soggy.